Good morning, children. I am PC Kern from Cecil DAV Public School, Giridih. I had given you one lesson, video lesson of tissue, that is meristematic tissue. This meristematic tissue is found in the apical regions of plants, that is root apex and shoot apex. Then we had to discuss the permanent tissue. In that lesson I had asked you that we shall be discussing this permanent tissue in the next video lesson. Permanent tissue, as the name is permanent, that means it never gets destroyed. Meristematic tissue, the cells of this tissue, when lose power of division and redivision, they get converted into permanent tissue. This tissue means cells perform similar function, they have similar shape, they have similar origin, etc. The cells of meristematic tissue take the shape for performing these different functions. This is called differentiation. Now, this permanent tissue is of three types: simple permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue, and special tissue. In most of the books, you can find only two types of permanent tissues, that is simple tissue and complex tissue. But one more is there, that is a special tissue. Simple permanent tissue has cells which are similar in structure, origin, and perform similar function. This simple permanent tissue is of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. This parenchyma tissue contains cells which are unspecialized, isodiametric, thin-walled, oval, spherical or polygonal, and forms basic packing tissue. It is found in all parts of plants like roots, stems, leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. The cell wall of these cells is made up of cellulose. Vacuole is present in the central region and the nucleus is found in the peripheral region. The cells are loosely packed and contain intercellular spaces among them. The function of this parenchyma cells or parenchyma tissue is to store food, water, and waste. It also helps in the exchange of gases, in the movement of food and water. When it contains chlorophyll, then it is known as chlorenchyma. And this chlorenchyma helps in photosynthesis, that is making of food by plants. Sometimes these parenchyma cells contain air chambers and are known as aerenchyma. Aerenchyma cells containing air chambers help in the floating of stems and leaves. It also supports and gives turgidity to soft parts of plants. The second one is the collenchyma. In fact, this simple permanent tissue, that is collenchyma, has living cells. Parenchyma also has living cells. This collenchyma has also living cells. The cells are thick walled. They do not contain intercellular spaces, or very little intercellular spaces may be there, but in general intercellular spaces are not found. Cell wall contains pectin and cellulose, that is pectocellulose. This tissue helps to provide mechanical support and flexibility to the parts of the plants, helps in the growth and elongation of organs. It helps to store food, helps in photosynthesis, etc. The third simple permanent tissue is the sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma, it is the simple permanent tissue with dead cells. Parenchyma and collenchyma contain living cells, while sclerenchyma contains dead cells. Cells are thick-walled, without intercellular spaces. The shape of the cell is barrel-shaped, maybe hexagonal too. Cell wall contains lignin. Pits may be present in the cell wall. This sclerenchyma cells or sclerenchyma tissue is of two types. The first one is fibers, or the second one is sclerites or stone cells. This sclerenchyma tissue helps to give mechanical support to the plant, forms a protective layer, protective covering of seeds and nuts. It gives fibers for making thread. Commercial production of thread takes place with the help of fibers provided by the sclerenchyma. Now, this simple permanent tissue may be protective in nature, that is, it protects from injury, adverse conditions of the environment, etc., on the basis of which it is called protective tissue. It is the outer layer of cells that covers plant parts like roots, stems, leaves, flowers, fruits, etc. It provides protection against adverse environmental conditions like extreme temperature, rainfall, maybe this low temperature, etc., and etc. Also protects from pathogens, that is the organisms which cause a number of diseases in plants, animals, and human beings. This protective tissue is of two types, that is epidermis and cork. Epidermis, it is the outermost layer. It is simple layered, that single layered. It contains stomata. These stomata are tiny openings present on the leaves, mainly on the leaves, maybe but in soft stems. These stomata help in the exchange of gases, that is intake of gases and outtake of gases. It protects from germs, adverse conditions of the environment, etc. Now, the second one, that is cork. It is the outermost protective layer of older parts of plants, that is especially bark. It is formed of cork cambium. Cells are rectangular. It may possess pores called lenticels for the breathing of older parts, that is stems, roots, etc. This cork protects from water loss, injury, high temperature. It is also used for making stoppers for bottles, cork, and shock absorbers. Children, today we talked of the simple permanent tissue. In our next video lesson, we shall be discussing about the complex tissue and the special tissue. Now, I want to give you some questions to be answered by you in your homes. That is your homework, home assignment. You may note down the first one, what is tissue? The second one, what is meristematic tissue? What are the different types of meristematic tissue? Draw the diagram and label the parts. The third question, what are the various simple permanent tissues? Draw the diagram and write two functions of each. Thank you. Have a nice day and wait for our next video lesson on this chapter, that is tissue, especially plant tissue, of which we shall be discussing about the complex tissue and special tissue. Thank you. Have a nice day.